1. From 2000 to 2002, I worked at a small-town grocery store. There were maybe 10 of us on the clock at one time. 11 if it was a Saturday night with an extra person in the deli department. Being a small town, everyone knew everyone, and we had a feisty, independent 90-something-old bird who, while blind, was still as flirty as she was at 18. One of us would always break away and help her shop. She used a cutout card to write her grocery list out by writing inside the cutout, and used it to write out the amount and sign her checks exactly on the line. In, I want to say the week before Christmas 2001, we were closed the one non-holiday of the year for store-wide inventory, which was handled by an outside inventory company. It was an oddball for back then, 60 Fahrenheit, so I wanted to grill and had to head for the Mart of Walls to grab steak, tater, and corn in the town 15 miles away. I roll up, go inside, and Ms. Anna Marie is standing in the cart foyer with an older lady who looks very, very, very miffed. My store manager was always all about customer service, so I introduced myself to Anna Marie and apologized about the store being closed that day. The older lady goes, "So you know her? Good. Her guide isn't here. I'll be back in 30 minutes. I have other people to drop off." Turns out the grumpy bitch was her transport driver. I go, but... And she was gone. I was in an absolute shock. And then, very, very, very pissed. So I had to help Ms. Anna Marie zoom through the Mall of Walls, then help her check out. Thank God that store still took checks. And load her back up into the transport van. Flaming bitch didn't lift a finger to help load the groceries. I really should have just said screw it and driven her back to the assisted living apartments myself, but hindsight is 20/20. The steak, taters, and corn weren't really all that great, having been cooked with anger, but they were eaten with anger too, so it balanced out. A week or so later, my store manager, a no-nonsense jackass that taught me a lot about when to kiss ass and when to kick ass, came up to me and grabs my arm and goes, "Robinson," is part of my username, not worried about doxing myself, is part of gruffness and his being an asshole. "A customer said you helped her at another store." I'm pretty sure I'm going to get an ass chewing for it. Helping a customer in our store is one thing, but better for business if they've floundered at another store. "Goddamn good work. She told me you helped her. She knew you were from here. She'll come back here over them. That's damn good customer service, kid." And walked away. 2. This happened a couple weeks ago. A customer, Jim, who has been frequenting my store for the past few weeks prior to this incident, walked in rather agitated and upset. I could tell because the first word out of his mouth while in the entrance was a loud "fuck." I was at the register and he came right on over. He had lost his wallet and figured it might be in our store. I'll add here that the wallet wasn't actually that important as he had cash on him, but it will have relevance later. I informed him that we hadn't seen no wallet and checked our lost and found, which we kept locked in our safe. My manager checked when I paged him. Then he made his intention clear. He would go grab some beer and I could ring him up because I knew he was overage. Our corporate policy requires we ID everyone for alcohol and tobacco products, which I explained to him. I explained this so much I sounded like a broken record. The longer our conversation lasted, the more agitated he became. I'll add here that every time I'd seen him he had been quite polite, but was a very weird dude. Jim then became silent midway through our chat, and he made hand motions to what looked like, to me, putting on a seatbelt. That's when I knew he wasn't desperate, but something was very off about him. He was trying to calm himself down, it appeared, and somehow hoped it would erase the previous conversation. Next thing he says was if I could sell him the beer and a repeat of what I had already told him. Very soon my manager was involved and told him the very same thing. By this point he was fed up and telling me sob stories about how hard it was to get there on foot, and he knew my manager from high school. They don't know each other from Adam, throwing insults mostly at my manager and cussing loudly. These were said in a very hostile manner, as if he could snap any time. On his way out the door, he started to berate a female customer, asking what she was laughing at. The two customers waiting to come to the register were standing way back, and this young lady was not laughing. Jim then asked her to buy him beer, then extended the invitation out to everyone. A mom in a nearby aisle had heard enough and decided to tell him so as he was leaving. I waved her down because the last thing we wanted was another confrontation. Fortunately, he didn't even react and left. Once he's left, we try to get everything back to normal by ringing up the customers who had been waiting on Jim. He wasn't gone more than a minute or two before he came barging back in with a vengeance, hitting our metal detector along the way, and said something that I couldn't distinguish. His next words were, "You have my wallet," and "Take me to your lost and found," with expletives mixed in. He came right up to the counter and accused us of keeping his wallet and demanded we take him to our lost and found, because he needs his beer, remember? It was at this point my adrenaline dumped. My heart began racing, and I thought the whole time I may actually find myself in an actual fight. I was just standing there, I hadn't moved, unlike my customers who got the hell away from where we were, waiting to see what he was going to do. I wholeheartedly felt he was on the verge of violent action. Right then, a cop walked in. His demeanor changed instantly, and on the spot, he made up a lie about how we had stolen his wallet or something like that. He even persisted in asking the officer to look in the lost and found with him. Within a minute, this officer and his partner had him cuffed and led out, all right in front of my register. It became clear when he was being cuffed that he was intoxicated. The officer said he could smell it. I explained to the officers all that had occurred and filled out a written statement. We found out afterward that another female customer had gone to the back of the store when he started going off the first time, prior to his second entrance, and called the cops. Had she not done that, we'd have been attempting to call when he walked back in the second time. My manager had the phone in his hand, and was about to while he was accusing us of stealing his wallet. And things may have likely gotten physical. I found out later that another store manager knew the guy and informed me he was a drug addict. It confirmed my suspicions that a drunk would not be so amped and belligerent, but someone coming off a high might be. All in all, a very interesting life experience I never thought I'd encounter. 3. Backstory. At the time when this happened, I was a single father. I had with me my 5 or 6-year-old daughter, and then my 8 or 9-year-old autistic son. So they basically share the same mentality. They're usually a handful, but this time they were a joy to take into public. I was living with my mother, or she was living with me, since I needed to help her with heavy bag lifting and the like, but she was the one with the driver's license. So she was waiting in the parking lot for me. Both my mother and I were on separate food stamps. We cooked our food separately. So I was in a store much like Wally World. I was picking up food for the week, and I decided to get some desserts for the kids because they were so well behaved. Normally I would be having a panic attack, but even though the store was packed, I was doing pretty well myself. So I get to the checkout lane and start putting my things on the belt to be rung up. Of course, the kids were excited, loud, but in control. While ringing up my groceries, I noticed this old couple enter the lane behind me. And eventually, some more people. I smiled at them and swiped my food stamp card. Rejected. I thought I just got my food stamps today, I exclaimed. That's why the store was packed after all, right? So I start taking items off, starting with the snacks, much to my kids' distress. I told them what was going on, and they understood. Swiped my card again, and not enough food stamps. Had the cashier check my balance, and of course I did not get my stamps that day. I took my kids to my mother's car and got her card. Short story is, she had some stamps, but not enough. She didn't get them either. I returned to take more items off when I hear, "Excuse me, I don't understand." I looked back and the old woman was addressing me. "I'm sorry, I had to get the other card and it still does not have enough money," I explained. "No, not that. I watched you and your kids running all over the store and heard you saying yes to everything they wanted. And you don't even have the money to buy it," she said. I looked at her confused. I could feel panic rising. Well, it's almost taken care of, so if... "Why would you take those kids into the store in the first place?" "Bitch, please, I do not mind you judging me in my money situation. I am poor and have to rely not only on my mother, but I also cannot get a job easily due to what is about to happen." "Ma'am," I calmly start, "I'm a single parent and I need to buy things, so I have to..." Why didn't you just leave them with family or friends? Bitch. I have none of them. The closest family I have currently is in the car with the kids now, and I don't care about your life story. I'm starting to lose it now. Look, ma'am, I am stressed, trying to pay for my kids' food with what I have. And you're not helping anything. I'm trying not to be rude, but you are rude. Oh, Hulk smash. Shut up. I yelled at her and turned to face her, my lip trembling. Look, you keep interrupting me, and you just admitted that you do not care for any excuse I tell you. Anything you have to say will not fix anything. At this point, her husband tries to get her out of the situation. Now, can you please listen to your loving husband there and go to another lane like the rest of the people behind you did a while ago? I would like to calm down and finish trying to buy something. She huffs, stands there looking at me, hopefully thinking, and she put her 10 items in her cart and stormed away. I got enough for 2 nights for me and my 3 kids. The eldest was home on the computer. Anything that might be said about this encounter will not change anything. Yes, I shouldn't have yelled, but that was a deal better than punching her. I kept my cool as much as I could, but she wouldn't accept anything I said or did, less than teleporting out of there and magically returning all of the items. The fact that she kept interrupting me and then called me rude was the last straw. I do apologize to the couple for what happened, and I didn't want to make their day any worse, but everyone please understand. Words don't fix many problems at all, especially when said events already happened. The only thing that would have helped me, not begging mind you, would have been to help pay for my order, but damn, that clerk did an amazing job not getting in the middle of it, and continuing to remove my items until I could pay for what I had. 4. I work in the after-sales and returns department of a large Nordic electronic company. For the most part, the job is alright, like 98% of the time, but this time, we gotta call security. So, first of all, weirdly enough, we have 2 separate after-sales departments, one upstairs in-store, where I am, and downstairs. We take care of minor appliances, while the guys downstairs take care of the bigger kitchen and home appliance returns. A married couple came to my desk, with a big sigh, threw a receipt on it. How can I be of assistance, I asked. One thing they told me was to look their order up in our system, which I promptly did. I asked again what seems to be the problem. They said they had purchased a TV, $2,600, with calibration from us. Brought it home, and it was broken. Fair enough, I thought. Maybe our delivery guys screwed up during transit. I literally had no information to go on. But as I look at the order confirmation, I notice it had not been returned. So I ask, have you talked with our guys downstairs? Yes, they said. And? I asked. They told us to come up here. Which left me with quite a question mark, since it's not our responsibility to take care of things like TVs. So I asked him kindly to hang on while I make a quick call. I called downstairs and asked what the deal is with these customers and this order. Well, I called the sales leader of the TV department and asked what he thought of it because I know he personally calibrated it and sent it out from the store perfectly fine. I also called the store manager to get his opinion, but they both flat out refused to take the return because when it left our store it was perfectly fine and not damaged. They were here 10 minutes ago and I told them this exact thing. They can send it in for repairs, but I informed them it will not be covered by warranty as the damage on the TV is likely the fault of their own. As soon as I heard all of this, I just braced myself. I knew it was coming. I had to repeat what he said to them again. I cannot accept the return no matter if I wanted to anyway, I was told no. I did sympathize and understood the frustration. It was a freaking 2300 TV. I asked them to come back Monday, this was Saturday, to talk to a sales leader and manager because my hands were tied. But they would have none of that. Immediate screaming and blasting me for being useless, not knowing what to do, this is our fault, not theirs, they didn't have the time, the kids are waiting for it, etc. Husband being the worst of the two, wife actually being a bit apologetic for their behavior. A big line formed behind them. Eventually, they dragged the other customers into their argument, like showing them pictures, ridiculing us for the terrible customer support, and so on. After about 20 minutes of this, and trying to settle them down and asking them to come back Monday, one of my co-workers, who is known to have somewhat of a short fuse, came back from his lunch. It didn't take long for him to go to the other side of the desk, to the husband, to tell him to settle down or leave the store. That just provoked the husband further, so his wife went in between the two. Husband proceeds to push her away, making her lose her balance and some items she was holding. He also went ahead to knock some items off of our shelves. I'm not sure what the last straw was, but they started accusing us of scamming them since they are foreigners. They were Asian. And that's what we probably do all the time with foreigners. At this point, I was long gone, by the way. I just heard the conversation from behind the service desk. I'd had enough at some point. I left. So, security got called, and the poor bastards were stuck arguing with them for another 20 minutes before they finally left. I've not been in this job for a long time, and getting yelled at and being made uncomfortable for something I can't help is still not something I'm used to. Fortunately, I had co-workers backing me up and helping me. 5. It was 1986. I was at an AM/PM gas station with 2 friends. High as fuck on the weed, getting vanilla ice cream cone soft serves. We were all in such good moods. In come 3 skinheads, Nazi fucks, you know the type, spitted out of their heads. They started hassling the counter guy and then hassling my friends. One friend just laughed super hard. He's 6'3" and about 290 pounds at one of them. My other friend just ignored the other one. I went outside to get away from that bullshit, and one of them followed me out. I had my back to him. He threw his shoulder into my back, knocking me off the curb entrance. Now, keep in mind, I had a fucking cast on my ankle at the time. I had torn ligaments from a pole vaulting injury. I apologized and asked him if he was okay, and he had crazy speed eyes. I said, "What's up?" and that's all she wrote. He came at me and my high school wrestling kicked in, took him down, spun behind him, half Nelson, spread his legs out from under him. I proceeded to smack his head against the ground until he submitted. I held him there and asked him if he was done. He said yes. Lies. As I let him up, his head bleeding, he turned away from me. I'm standing there and one of his skinhead buddies said, "Dude, man, stick him," as he turns back to me with a damn Bowie knife. I have never fought anyone with a knife before, so I took off my t-shirt and wrapped my hand and arm. He lunged at me a few times and I held up my arm in defense. As I did this, I thought, fuck this, and threw my shirt at him and hobbled inside the store and went to the counter and reached over for the Equalizer, a Louisville slugger that the owner kept there. His son was working that night and stopped and told me it wasn't worth it and he'd already called the cops. The sirens were coming in hot from the distance, and those Nazi fucks all took off pronto in their Volkswagen Bug. We watched them peel out and speed away, and in less than 20 seconds, 3 black and whites were in pursuit. We went up the street to see where they got pulled over and found them, talked to the cops, confirmed what happened, and proved it with the t-shirt I threw at him, which was now in the back seat of their car. I asked the cop if I could take another run at him real quick, and he said, "Sorry, I wish you could," and laughed. I was lucky. Adrenaline was high. I came out of it a little scraped up, but alive. Next time, I run. Maybe 5 or 6 years later, I'm at Linda's Farmhouse Doll Hut, a bar and venue that had a lot of punk acts and white power bands. I was drinking a beer by the pool table when I noticed this guy on the other side. It was him, the kid that tried to gut me. I couldn't believe it. So I went over by him and put some quarters on the pool table next to the others for the next games. I leaned against the wall and said, "What's up?" He looked at me and said, "Nothing. What's up with you?" I was shocked. He didn't even remember me. He had no idea who I was. This fucking guy almost gutted me like a fish and had no clue. I asked him if he wanted a beer, 'cause I was going to the bar. I brought him back a beer and sipped on mine. "You don't remember me, do you?" He looked at me right in the eyes and said, "I have no idea who you are. Have we met before?" At this point I was totally pissed. I said, "How can you almost kill someone and not remember them?" He looked confused for about 10 seconds, then it sunk in. He looked angry. He asked me what I wanted. I just asked him if he was glad that things turned out how they did, that no one died, and that he was okay. He said he was glad it didn't go further than it did. We talked for a while. He was a plumber, married, had a kid, and one on the way. He was happy. He had a family, he had a job. If this kid would have killed me, all that he had now would never have been. He never apologized, never said he'd sorry. But that's okay, I knew he was. He bought the next round. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 133. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories and sent in stories and stories and stories and stories. And then there were some stories over there, some over here. I think I had some in a bucket over there. It was raining stories. I went to hell. I found some stories down there. What was I doing? Oh yeah, stories in this video. And I'm recording these live while people are watching, and I just got orders from Carly Holmes, aka Hamster Crazy, on Discord. There's a Hellfreezer Discord. And I have to give a shout out to Carly and her little hamster Ozzy, who is a very fine hamster indeed. As far as I know, there is no hamster song, so no singing in this video. Oh, what the hell. Here's the hamster song. I was human, he was a hamster. He rode on his wheel and I ate pasta, bang, bang. He shot me down, bang, bang. My hamster shot me down. He was orange, I was pale. He ate carrots, I collected mail, bang, bang. He shot me down, bang, bang. My hamster shot me down. Alright, and with that, I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.